Hello everyone, I'm Christina of CSLdesigns, and today I'm going to show you how to make these Sunburst wirework earrings. And these are the ones that I've made. So they look like this. So I'm using a single bead in each one, that large bead right there in the middle to kind of represent the sun. And then I've made a wire weave all the way along the edge using copper wire on top of the silver wire there as the base wires to make sure they contrast each other. And that's then that sunburst effect all the way around. So that's what they look like. They're fairly easy to make and quick as well. Now I actually kind of based these off of a design I made previously, and that's a bracelet where I made a sunburst bracelet that looks like that. So you can see they match nicely, and also obviously using the same materials. So you could use them as a set if you want to. I'm going to leave a link to that tutorial for the bracelet down in the description box below. But then today I'm going to show you how to make these earrings. So if you want to learn that, then keep watching. So it's these materials here that we're going to be using. First of all, I have my wire. Now I have two different gauges, but they're both regular round wire. This silver one here is a 1mm gauge, and this is going to be the base wire, and it's just a silver coated one that I'm using. And then the other one is a 0.4mm. This is going to be the weaving wire, and here I'm using a copper one. So I'm getting the contrast between the two wires as well to achieve the effect. And then the beads that we're going to need are these 14mm rounds here. Now specific ones that I'm choosing are these copper coated quartz gemstone beads, and they're faceted as well. Obviously you can use whatever you want to. Now we're going to need two in total because we need one for each earring. And then we'll also need our earring findings here. I'm just choosing these earring posts and butterfly backs. You can choose whatever you want to if you prefer a different kind. And then jump rings here to attach the pieces to the earring findings. So let's get the materials ready and let's get started. So then we need some lengths of wire, and first of all here I have 3 lengths of my 1mm wire of about 25 centimeters each, and these are going to be the base wires and enough for the whole earring. And then we need a length of the 0.4mm wire of about 1 meter, and this is going to be the weaving wire for the piece. So to begin with, I'm going to get my length of the 0.4mm wire here, and first of all we just need to find the midpoint. So you can just gently fold it in half or measure it, just get to about halfway. And then I'm going to get one length of my base wires, and we need to attach these together and then obviously be able to start our weave. And also the base wire, we also need to start in the middle of that. So just like this, I'm going to put my weaving wire behind the base wire, and then I'm just going to wrap around a full time like that, and then once more. And now the weaving wire here is attached to that base wire. And then we need to get into the proper weave that we're going to do. So what I'm going to do is not do the full length with just this side, because the whole point is we're starting from the middle, so we need to kind of use both sides pretty evenly. But then to continue the weave, I'm going to bring in the next base wire and lay that on top of the other one and on top of the weaving wire. And again, just make sure they're somewhat even on the ends there. It's not too crucial because you can usually move them through the weave if you don't make it too tight. But you might as well kind of get it even now. And then take the same length there, go over the top of both of them, and then down behind, and then once more. So I'm doing this twice as well, and don't pull too tight in this weave here because it might compromise the spacing between the base wires, and we don't want them to, the weaving wire here, if you weave quite tight, it's going to start pulling them closer together, so we won't be able to really get the weaving wire back in between. So just make sure you don't pull too tight. And then I'm going to get the last base wire, and then just place it in the same place, the new top one, go over the top of all 3 of them in the same way, and down behind. Again, make sure you don't pull too tight, and then do that once more, just like that, and down behind. So that's now the tip, and we used all 3 base wires in there and incorporated with each other. And then to go back down, go over the top, but come down between the top 2 base wires, so just like that, and then push that all the way down, and then do it once more. And again, especially now, it's important to not pull too tight on the weave, because these 2 bottom base wires here are going to just get tighter and tighter together, and we don't want that, because now we need to just wrap around that bottom one on its own, push that all the way down. So if you get it too tight, you might risk that you can't get that weaving wire all the way down next to the previous wraps. And once more. So each wrap that we've done here, each little section is 2 wraps with the weaving wire. And we now have this little kind of pyramid in place. So what we then need to do is continue making these little pyramids with this length. So you just continue straight from this single wrap, you go over the 2 base wires and then down behind, and that goes right into the next one here. And in total what we want to end up with on this side is 3 pyramids next to each other using this side of the wrapping wire or weaving wire. Then we want to move over to the other side, because like I said, we want to try and use the 2 sides there pretty equally. Still make sure there's weavers in the middle, so you can see you can move it up and down if you need to. But on the other side here, we just get right into the weave as well. Just separate the base wires out a little bit. So right now it's coming from the bottom there and up behind. So to get into the weave, we kind of just got to make it in a bit of a different direction. So you just come up between the top 2 base wires, because we've already done that wrap around the bottom one by itself. And then we've got to do the 2 wraps around the 2 bottom base wires. So it's the exact same principle of the weave. We're just doing it in a slightly different direction. So like that there. And then down over the top of those 2 again. And then we just go over the top of all 3. Just like that, and do that twice. And then you just step down again to do your wraps around the bottom 2, and then the single base wire on the bottom as well. And you're starting to create your pyramids on this side, and you obviously want 3 on this side as well, so they're both symmetrical. So then once I have my 6 little pyramids in place there after each other, we need to then take this piece and start shaping it. So I'm just going to flip it around, because what we need to do is put this into what's going to end up being kind of the circle shape. But obviously for now it's going to be 1/2. So what we need to do is make sure that the bottom side, which is now on the top side there, that has wraps all the way around, all the way along there, so not the points of the pyramids but the bottom ones of them, they need to be on the inside towards the bead. So what I'm going to do is just make sure that these wrapped sections are pushed close together. Then I'm going to start putting a curve into this. So you just do that with your hands and fingers until you pretty much more or less have half a circle, because this is then going to come around one side of the bead, and obviously you can use your bead to measure against as you do this. So then when I have the shape done here, and also I've measured it against the bead, so you can see it's going to sit just perfectly inside of that half a circle and follow the shape of the bead as well. Then what we need to do is actually attach the bead, and we do this at this kind of midpoint. So what I'm going to do is grab both of the lengths of the weaving wire, so get to the ends of them, one from each side and one from the other, and then I'm going to take my bead and then go through, first of all, the one wire, just go through the bead, and then take the other length and go through in the opposite direction, just like that. And then we just need to kind of pull these so the bead comes all the way down to the piece, but obviously you want to make sure to just do this gently, because it is wire and we don't want to end up kinking the wire or damaging it in any way. So just keep pulling it down so that it's going to end up sitting there in that curved shape when we bring it all the way down there till basically the bead can't go any further. And just pull, make sure to pull the weaving wire nice and tight through the bead, and it's going to sit just perfectly like that, and you can see it just follows the shape nicely. And then really what we've got to do now is continue what we were doing before, so continue the weave, but because we've done and added the bead in like this, it's going to be quite seamless, as if the bead is just kind of floating there in the middle. So all you got to do is start on one side at a time and just continue what we were doing before. So I'm taking this weaving wire that's coming out to this side now, just starting on here, and then we just pick up the same weave, but just have a look there, because the last ones we did, the last wraps we did, were around the single wire, so we don't need to do them. We're going to go straight into doing the wrap around the 2 still bottom base wires there, the bottom of the pyramids, and go straight into them. Do that, and again make sure to not pull too tight on the weaving wire, because the same principles still apply. So just pick the weave back up, and you can see you get to the middle of the pyramid around all 3 base wires, and then I push it down close there. Obviously it's going to fasten more once we get some more wrapping done, but for now just use to push it down. It gets nice and seamless with the previous wraps that we did before we added the bead in. And you just want to do the same on the other side. So just start your wrap here, going around both of the 2 bottom base wires to start the next pyramid off. And then we need to do this on both sides until we have another 3 little pyramids on either side, now above the bead. So now that I made the other 3 pyramids there on both sides, then it's time to really start finishing things off. First of all, I want to just get rid of the excess of the weaving wire, because we're done using that now. So all I'm going to do is take my flush cutters, and then what you just want to make sure to do is right at the end, after the last pyramid, we naturally wrap around 2 times, but I've just done an extra one. So I have 3 wraps around that single base wire. Then all you do is take your flush cutters, go down to where the wire is wrapping around the base wire, and then cut off the excess close to where it's coming out from. And then I always like to leave a short little tail of about maybe 1 millimeter or so, because then I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and make sure to press that down. And then when I'm doing this, and make sure it goes in the direction that the wrap is actually going, it's going to basically tuck in between those 2 base wires. So really get tucked away, and just make sure to do that, and run your finger over it to see if you can feel it or not, and do that the same on the other side as well. And once we got rid of that weaving wire there, what we then need to do is complete the circle more or less. So the 2 lengths that we have going away from the bead with the weaving on it, we need to shape that as well. So I just like to hold on to the piece first of all. I'm just doing one side at a time and start bringing that around. Again, just following the shape of the bead really, to get that curve shaping around. So basically the 2 sections, you could say, of the base wires on either end are going to end up meeting at the top. So just gradually work your way towards them ending up more or less overlapping each other like that, but obviously right here in the middle. And you can see that where we ended the weaving wire fits nicely for pretty much having them meet up there in the middle. So just get to a point where you end up with this nice shape around the bead and you're happy with it, and you can keep adjusting it until you are. And then we have what looks something like this. So to now be able to finish off the base wires as well, what we need to do is kind of intertwine all these. So right now I have, in my case, just the right one is overlapping all the ones on the left. Then what I'm going to do is we still have them line all flat next to each other. So we have the very top one here from the back, that's this one. What I then want to do is take the top one from the opposite side, and we need to intertwine them, so we're going to end up basically having the wires intertwining like that. But obviously we just need to make that happen. So I'm going to bring this, we need to bring it underneath the bottom 2 in the back ones, and then just in between them like that. Now you might just find that the wire can go a little bit out of shape when you do this, just get a bit of a curve into them, but then you just bring it back out. So that's one. And then between the next 2 here from the back section, I'm going to bring the next one from the front, so this one here in between them. So again, just bring that back, separate these 2 wires out, so I just bring it in between them, and then back out to the same side where it was coming from before. And then now we have all the wires intertwined. So like I said, if you need to, just work a little bit on getting them straightened back out so it looks nice. But then we've ended up with this here, so you can see that intertwining action between them. And then we can use this position that we have them in now to then actually finish them off, and also obviously create our loop that we're going to use to attach to the earring findings. So first off, before we then finish them off, we've got to remember that we need one of these lengths to make a loop with. So I'm going to take the very back one there, and then I'm just going to take my chain nose pliers, and right there in the middle where it crosses over or under with one of the others, I'm just going to grab onto that and then bring the wire back up so it comes straight out from the piece like that. And now that wire is ready to be able to make a loop with. So I'm not going to finish that one off just yet, but I am going to do the rest. So what I'm going to do is the new back one that we have now, the furthest back apart from the one that we just brought up. That's this one here. And then what we're going to do is one at a time bring them around here from the front, around the side, then towards the back. So I'm just going to do this one first. I like to kind of hold on to everything as much as I can so it doesn't get pushed too much out of place. Bring this around to the back so it kind of loops around that wire that we just bent, and just bring it kind of nice and close to something like that. And then I want to bring the new back one, and that goes around in the direction that it's naturally going, again towards the back. So something like that, and you just keep doing this with each one until you've done that with all of them. And once you then brought them all around to the back, you can see you get a quite nice finish up there. It blends in nicely as well with the design. Then on the back here, we just need to basically cut off one at a time and then tuck it away, and that secures it in place. So just to show you one at a time, I just like to kind of start from the inside here and work my way out. So just separate it a bit. I'm going to get some wire cutters or flush cutters, and then I'm just going to choose my first one. Just need to open up a little bit more so I can get my pliers into it. And then we need to cut off the excess, but make sure we leave just a short tail. So you can see I'm not cutting it off right close to where it's bending around the other base wire. We need to get a little bit further in and leave a bit of a tail. Just almost through it there. So you can see a little bit of a tail there's coming around the back, because we need to use that to then also secure it in place, because that's what's going to secure it and stop it from kind of coming apart and opening up. So I'm going to take my chain nose pliers then, and then we need to grab that little end and then start squeezing it in. And I've made sure to leave enough so there's enough to go basically around this other base wire here that's along the edge. So the actual end of this wire gets tucked away, more or less kind of inside the back part of that piece. So it just gets tucked away nicely in there. Go through and do the rest of them, and you can always then just double check that they're all tucked away nicely once you've done them and you have a bit more space. So there you can see on the back I have all the ends of the wire there nicely tucked in. So you put your finger over it, you can't feel anything at all. So just make sure you get them right in there in that kind of little gap. And then it looks like this on the front. So all that's really left to do now is make the loop with this. So to do that, I'm just going to again get my chain nose pliers, and we need to make the bend before the loop first of all. So I'm just going to go a little bit above where all the wires are crossing over. So leave a couple of millimeters there of bare wire, and then bend it back so you get an angle, something like this. And I put it to the side to do that, because then I'm going to get my 6-step bell making pliers, and I'm just using the smallest step. You can also just use some round nose pliers, whatever you have handy. Put that on the angle, just like that. So we then take the tail, bring it back around the pliers, and then all the way around, continue that until we end up with a full circle, something like that. And then just grab the chain nose again, or flat nose, make sure to press it down. We then need to kind of fasten this in place so it's not an open loop or circle. So I put my pliers onto it so it keeps its shape, and then I take the tail here and start wrapping it around that little space of bare wire that we left underneath, and we basically need to fill in that space, making sure I wrap this wire around tightly, and just double checking that until you haven't got any more space really, and it's coming towards the back. I prefer to finish it off just so we don't have the wiring showing there. We'll kind of get it more out of the way. So now that it's at the back, we need to finish it off. Again, get your flush cutters, cut off the excess to get rid of that, and then make sure whenever we have an end of a wire here to just make sure to squeeze it in. So I put my pliers onto it and press it in, so it's going to get more tucked in with the rest of the wires. And then if you can't feel it, that means it's fine. And then all that's left to do really with this is use that loop to attach our earring findings. And obviously we need to make a second one as well to get a pair of earrings. So now I made the other one and I've attached my earring findings as well, and then they look like this. So you have your finished pair of these Sunburst wirework earrings. Now they hang nicely from your ears like that because they have a bit of a drop to them. So that's how you make these. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Feel free to let me know, and thank you very much for watching.